everything sorted, you came to Australia, which is a new country here. Tell me the basic difference in the university from India to Australia and the teachers to exams, how you're rated in your exams and how are the subjects like, how are the subjects divided, everything.
Okay, so we'll start with university life. I think university life here in Australia is much more social as it is compared to India. And when I say social, I mean that there are a lot of events happening all day, every day in a university here in Australia, be it tier 1 or tier 2 university. You would always find some or the other events happening. Plus, you get a lot of resources. Like I used to take laptops on rent from the library just to do all the work or projects that I needed, because a lot of softwares were very heavy for the laptop that I was using. So I would get a MacBook or anything like that, which was supporting the software that I was doing. You also get a lot of these softwares for free from the universities. And usually it is for like 3 years. Even if your master's degree is for 2 years, you get 3 years licenses for these softwares, And it's much more student-oriented approach in these universities because they value the opinion of students. In Australian universities, you have student unions, which actually make sure that student life is manageable and there is a balance maintained between what the university wants and what the student wants. An example for this would be that, like Monash itself, I was the coursework education officer for Monash. So Monash one day decided that currently, if I wanted to drop out of a subject without having my fees deducted, it was 1 month or 4 weeks from the day of orientation. They wanted to reduce that to 2 weeks, which means that I have less time to understand whether I'm good enough for this subject or not. This is what students didn't like. And that's when the student unions come in, that these student unions then talk to universities and help them understand that this is not what students want. And you need to make sure, that this needs to be changed. Now in India, I don't think that's possible because it's much more.
I'm waiting for you to say that it actually succeeded because it's really not possible there. So did you succeed in that?
It did. Yes. So I brought not me alone, but the entire union actually brought a lot of student-centric changes. Like we had e-examination, I think 2 years before COVID hit us. Like Monash was doing online examination before COVID hit us. And that's why Monash distant education picked up like this when COVID came up, a lot of students were opting in because the infrastructure was always in place. Okay. So like that, it did happen. Monash never reduced that, period. And it is still 4 weeks as of yet. Okay. So they do listen to them because if students don't like, university understands they won't come.
Of course. That's very good. They should understand that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why they understand what these unions have a role to play. And they also fund these unions and it's only run by the students.
Wow.
So
the teachers are not involved. The university is not involved.
There is no staff members involved who is working for the university. There are staff members in the unions, but they are working for the unions, not for the university.
Wow.
So if you go to a union there, that university is not involved. There's a confidentiality between you and the university. So that's the first difference that I would like to point out in terms of social life, university life, and university resources. Like for every problem, the union is your solution, because if you go there, they have all the moving to teachers and professors and subjects. I think Australia adopts a much more practical approach than India. India, it is a bit of more of rote learning and having that information, stuck in your head. Australia, it's more about implementation. It could also be because I studied masters, but my bachelor's friends don't say any different and they don't have any different opinion.
Yes.
I think the reason is because you can always retain the knowledge by going back to the books or something like that. But the implementation is a skill. And that's one more difference that I found. That being said, whatever I had learned in bachelor's and because it stuck behind, I had a stronger base or academic skills than my peers in the university, but I lacked the practical skills as well. Like they would be very good at practical part of the subject than I would, but the academic part of it, I would be better. Okay. So to be honest, I think Indians have an advantage when it comes to Australian education system, because the practical thing is just about implementation, which you can learn with errors. Yes. But the academic retention is something that is imbibed in us from a very small and young age throughout learning,
Yeah.
that we
Well,
tend to do that.
even if we wake up from sleep, we have to tell all the tables 9 times 5, 9 times 9.
13. Yeah, I remember the table of 30. My father used to ask me so many
13
times.
table. You remember 13 table?
1, 3. They used to ask me a lot of times. 1, 3.
I learned until 11th table. That's enough. Okay.
But yeah, he used to quiz me. I think that's why I was good at maths. He used to quiz me a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, and in moving on in terms of grades, I think with grades, we have something called as GPA or grade point average.
Yes.
And I think in India, we have absolute grading. So the difference between those is that, in my opinion, or at least to my understanding, is that the grade point average is the understanding of your entire batch. So let us say that there is a subject which I'm not good at. But if my entire batch is not good at, my marks won't drop down. Because if the highest in class is, let us say, the top score in the class is 90.
Yep.
Right? And the second score is 60.
Wow.
Then both the person who has got 90 and the 60 will get the same grade.
Which grade is that?
But in India, in the mark sheet, it would show as 90 and 60.
No, so the person who got 90 and 60, what grade do they get?
So they get A grade, or they get, like there's a grade point average. So in Monash, it is A plus, A, B plus, B, C, and like that, like 10 points.
Okay.
Like that. But it is 10% of the class. It is not the top 10 marks. Like it's not 90 to 100 is A plus.
Yeah,
it is the top 10% of the class is A plus.
Wow. Okay.
Which means it depends, like it tells people, universities, your employers that, the subject is difficult. It's not that, you are not the person who does not know. It's that the subject is difficult. And because of this grade point average and our good base scores, it's easier for us to have a good grade point average. Like my GPA in Monash was 3.8 out of 4.
Okay.
Which is like 90 percentile, right?
Yeah.
But in India, I was only 80% student, and that's how I got it.
Okay.
So as you see, it's easier for us to score because our academic knowledge is good. And that's the difference between grade point average and absolute grading.
Okay. Is it different for bachelors or is it Sydney? Because I heard the GPA is different for bachelors in Sydney. I heard somewhere around like 7, 6s and all that. 4 is the minimum.
I think it depends on university to university. Like Monash has a 4-point grade average, which is a US system.
Okay.
A lot of universities have 10-point grade average system, which is a European system. And then there is a 7-point grade system, which is, I think, the Canadian one as well.
Yes.
So it depends on the university that you're going and the approach they adopt.
Okay. So otherwise, the exams are very easy. Like as a bachelor student in engineering in India, let's say if you are a 60% student, okay? Let's not aim for 80, a 60% student. If you're coming and doing masters here, would you be okay with it?
Oh, yeah. Because see, in masters, teachers, friends, and students, they don't spoon feed you. Whereas in India, you have that, okay, if I don't understand, somebody is going to sit down with me and make me understand this,
Do they do that in engineering, biomedical engineering as well?
Oh, yes. I mean, like, as I said, like physics, I don't like physics. And there is this subject called medical physics in bachelors, which you have to do it. It's all about radiation and, how it decays and stuff like that. But let us ignore what it is. And so I used to go and sit with teachers after college hours to understand, because I wanted to pass. I was such a horrible student in that subject. It was hard for me to pass. I had to make that effort. And they would teach me, they would give me their notes, they would make me understand, and all that. But if I did the same thing with my professor here, he would be like, no, I don't have time for all this. You need to do this by yourself at home. If you don't understand something, find the problem, do your solutions, and then I'll help you choose which is the right way of doing it. They usually show the path. Whereas back in India, they give you the results by themselves by working with you. I don't say it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a different of method in these countries.
Okay.
So as I said, it should be easier for the 60 percentile to score, because what he's learning here is how to actually implement what he has learned rather than just learning and remembering stuff.
Why I asked you that question is basically because, again, coming to the same inferior point, you feel low confident that I only have 60, I only have 65, 70. Will I be good at doing masters abroad? Trust me, there are a lot of kids who are actually good at a lot of other stuff, as you said before regarding the application as well. You don't have to be good at just academics. You have some other skills which you can present, which you can bring better things to the environment, as better things to the university as well, but I'm asking this question only for them, that you can succeed even with that 60%. So please don't beat yourself up and think that it's not possible. Yeah, I just wanted to tell that.
And there are much more resources available as well, because here, if you tell somebody that you've scored 60%, they're not going to look down upon you and judge. I think that's still a practice in India, but this is something which gives you a much more open and comfortable environment to learn, which makes it easier for you to learn. That's what I feel, that you don't have that mental stress,
Okay. So what are those cautious don't do's, if you want to say, let's say exams wise or universities wise, or, particularly plagiarism and stuff, which is really important. Australia takes plagiarism really seriously. So please tell the viewers, particularly who wants to come here to study, what are the no's? Do not do this.
Okay. I think first things first, we'll go from academics and then move on to life.
Okay.
In terms of university, I don't think your viewers or anybody should select a university or a course just based on the name of the course. I'll tell you the difference. Like, there is a course called Biomedical Sciences in Monash University, and then there is a course.
Monash University is in Melbourne.
Yes.
Victoria.
Yeah, that's where I studied, in Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have a course called Biomedical Sciences, and then they have a course of Medical Engineering, but they don't have a course called Biomedical Engineering, right? Now, if I search on Google Biomedical Engineering in Monash, it would only give me these two results. And because we would see that there's no biomedical engineering, why should I choose Monash? And let's go to other universities.
Okay.
But when you go down to course structures and actually see what subjects they are studying, that's how you should select your course. So that would be my first, that just don't go by the name of the course.
Good point.
Second would be, once you're in the university, you don't want to, get involved in plagiarism and collusion, as you said. Now, what are these? Plagiarism is basically representing anybody else's work as your work, right? So let us say you take
most of them do.
Sorry? Yes, we do that. There's no point in taking others' work, but you need to reference them correctly in your work and make them understand that this is what you have taken from them. I can't take a word by word paragraph from somebody else's work and put it down as my own, right?
Oh, so the university understands that, let's say if you're inspired from somebody else's work, but put it into your words, is that all they're asking for?
No, but it needs to be referenced, that where did I get this idea from? So if I'm doing a paper on, let us say, movement of hands, like this hand is moving, and somebody has researched that this hand is moving at 30 degrees. You can't say that, yeah, I know that the hand moves at 30 degrees. I need to say that according to Joseph et al. Or whoever wrote that paper and his research, the hand moves at 30 degrees. And then I know that with the hand moving at 30 degrees, so and so could be the implication or something like that. But it needs to be referenced. You need to tell them that where did you get this information from and what is your inference from that information. It's just like reading news, right? You read the news. For some people, the same news is good. For some people, the same news is bad.
Okay.
Then they pass on their judgment. Similarly, if you have taken an information from somebody else, you can always write what is your inference from it. Okay. That from the information that they have provided, you can tell that this is why I feel that this is right. Or this is why I feel that the hand only moves at 30 degrees, because he did all his research. And I understood his research. Okay. As I said, you don't want to get involved in plagiarism and collusion, because these are something that the universities take very seriously.
Small doubt.
And the repercussion of it.
Okay, I have to break you here. Plagiarism is something you're copying from, or let's say you're taking it from somebody who actually wrote about it. What is the other word you said?
Collusion. So C-O-L.
Okay. Clearly tell me, is a plagiarism where you have to give the reference? What is collusion then?
Collusion is basically a lot of you doing the same work and giving the same work, saying that it's yours. So let us say if me and my friends do an assignment together, but we don't include our friend's name or, something like that, and all of us present the same assignment together, it's called collusion.
Oh, of course it's a collusion. Okay, I get it why it's named that. Okay, yes. Okay. So they strictly check all that.
Yes. So all my papers and assignments in Monash is stored for 7 years after I graduated. So if I've graduated in 2020, they are still going to be in the records for 2027, which
Wow.
means I can't give any of my juniors my assignment and they can pass it on as theirs because they know that that's my assignment.
Wow. So you have to do your own assignments then.
Yes. And they have very strict softwares. They have database going back to at least 20, 30, 40 years. So you don't want to risk it. So that's another definite don't. I think these are the only ones that I have in terms of academics. Like the only one more thing I would say is never stop asking for help. If you don't think don't know something, ask for help. There is always an option available and somebody would be always ready to help you. And in terms of life, I would just say that move abroad for studies if you are ready to accept the challenges that come with it.
Okay.
Staying alone from parents, working part-time and earning your own finances, making sure your health is okay, making your life responsibilities straight, being able to pay your taxes and stuff like that. Like only go
being
through
being responsible. Yeah.
If you're accepting those ideas and challenges.
Yeah. So medical, you said, the health you said. So will there be insurance and providing what?
So when you apply for your visa, you are expected to have something known as overseas health cover, which covers you for all the diseases that happen while you are here in Australia. What it doesn't cover is a doctor's treatment, as in when you get a surgery or something like that. It doesn't cover your sexual health diseases, your mental health diseases, your eye diseases, and your dental diseases.
Okay.
They don't cover these four, but I think they cover most of it. So like if you have a fever or something like that, you can go to GP and that's completely free. For most of these insurances, there are listed doctors. But if there are no listed doctors, you can just go to GP and get it fixed.
Okay. So when you said doctor's fees, you're talking about, let's say they have to undergo, touch wood, any surgery. The rest all is covered except the doctor fees. Oh, that's
not. So your hospital charge is covered, and your
that's not covered for permanent residents and citizens for a lot of other things. So that's okay.